Good evening. I'd like to call this regular Board of Finance meeting for Monday, August 21st, 2023 to order. First item on the agenda, public forum. Anybody wishing to address the Board of Finance in public forum? Seeing none. Item number 2, approve minutes of our regular meeting minutes of July 17th, 2023. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, corrections? I did have one. That's on page 4. Under item number 5 in revenues, third sentence down, where it says golf is $314,000 over budget. I would recommend that we say that golf is at $314,000 or $115,000 over budget. I had nothing else. Anybody? Further?
No.
None?
Nope.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
One
Abstentions?
abstention.
Thank you. Jonathan? Okay, Megan and Jonathan, thank you. Item number 3, correspondence, standing building committee minutes. We have 2 sets. We have the July 11th, 2023 standing building committee. That was their regular meeting. And then we had their regular meeting of August 1st. I guess that's just the way it fell. Actually, that's right, because the first week fell on July 4th, so they pushed it to July 11th. So the standing building committee of August 1st was held, and we were able to get the minutes in time. So does anybody have anything on standing building? I don't see Chairman DeMail on. I believe he may be on vacation this week, from what I understand. So if there's any questions, we can bring it back to him on either July 11th or August 1st. Hearing no questions, comments? Okay. We'll move on to correspondence. Item number 2, pension committee minutes. First the minutes, and then we have the investment report. We have one for the month ended July 30th and one for the entire year, for the fiscal year. Is there anything on either of the pension, on any of the pension committee?
I guess I have a question.
Jonathan.
I read that you may go forward with a death audit, which sounds wonderful. I was curious, is that where you're going to check to see anyone who's eligible if they have already passed or are already deceased?
It is to determine whether we're writing checks to somebody who is dead.
Okay.
Right, so it'll be a verification.
That came up a couple months ago, didn't
Yeah,
it?
we did.
Yeah, so they're moving forward with
Yeah,
that.
we're getting quotes on that project.
Great.
So will you check everyone who's eligible?
Yes.
To see
Yeah.
if they're alive?
Yeah.
Not just eligible, receiving.
And receiving,
Yes.
of course. Okay. All right, I mean, that's what it sounded like. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Say that, Megan?
Isn't there a survivor option for some?
Oh, yeah, yes, there are, but
Okay.
the question was born of the concern that we don't do any kind of check to determine
Got it.
whether or not we are sending it to people who are still alive. So it was-
Okay.
And that would obviously hold for the survivor benefit as well.
Got it.
Investment reports, just bears noting that we started the fiscal year at 67.5 million or so, and we're ending at almost 74 million. So healthy on the fiscal year. Anything further on pension committee before we go to OPEB? Okay, OPEB board minutes or report? Fairly brief, as usual. Okay. Okay, if nothing further, we will move on to item number 4, review and accept the report of expenditures for the Board of Education. 4, and we have 2 fiscal years that we will be addressing for both the Board of Education and for the town this evening. We'll start with the Board of Education. Arnold Scretta, Linda Trudeau. Good evening.
Good evening.
Linda, tuition report, or
I didn't.
because maybe we're in between, not enough to report?
Yeah, I didn't do one. We're still trying to finalize
Right.
all placements for the coming year, and you'll see the final results for tuition in this report.
Great, thank you. Arnold.
All right, so first off, I'll start with fiscal year 2022-23. Expenditures for the month of July of 2023 were $403,918.60. Expenditures and encumbrances through the end of July were 99.99% of the budget, which is equal to what it was in 21-22. Budget transfers for the 22-23 year were submitted to the Board of Ed for approval, and we approved those. And thanks to Linda for her work on that. In general, the things that were up were transportation, supplies and materials, and tuition. Things that were equal to a year ago were purchase services. And then employee benefits were lower than the prior year for the same time. So the warrant that we're submitting today is total payments listed are $1,076,927.44.
Thank you. One of the things I did notice, as I'm sure we all did, at the end of the 22-23 report, it appears that the available balance total for the Board of Education is at, let me zoom in on it, $3,791.
Yes,
Talk about being right on the budget, huh?
That's pretty good
Yes.
targeting.
Yeah.
yes.
Obviously with transfers, which we already mentioned, but, you know, it's
Yes.
good that it wasn't over, but
Right.
not
Right.
nearly what we've seen in the past.
No, it's the lowest I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've never seen it that close before. So, I commend the Board of Education for some good budgeting last
It's
year.
also the lowest amount of open encumbrances at the end of the year that we've ever had.
Mhm.
I mean, I've seen them over $800,000,
Yeah.
and we're at 5,000.
5,000, yeah. Right, so next month, we'll see what the transfers were in the minutes. We don't do anything with the approval, because that's Board of Ed, but,
Right. The transfers totaled $1,232,500.
that's a larger amount of
It's
transfers.
a large,
than usual.
so I went through and looked at all the accounts that were over budget at the end of the year. It totaled $1.8 million in over budget accounts. So it was a lot of transferring of funds to get those all back in line.
Yeah, I mean, just noticing, as I'm sure we all are, where the available balances are, I mean, very, it is what it is. Very few of the available balances, actually, I don't think any of the available balances are close. Actually, the closest one looks like it's tuition at 171
Yes.
in terms of available balance, but they fluctuate quite a bit. But all within that available amount, so. Any questions? Comments on fiscal year 22-23?
It's always, I bring this up frequently, I know, it's always a moving target with regard to special education and transportation less so, but special education transportation. I mean, there's a pretty big variance there this year.
Yes.
That it's commendable that you came in at the number that you did, given, you know, a $400,000 variance in special education transportation. I mean, it's a service that has to be provided, so it's not really discretionary, but that's a pretty wide variance.
Excuse me, we did a bid for the coming year, and we only had 2 vendors submit bids. In the prior year, we had 5. So there was only 2 vendors out there. One of them, somehow it was an error on their part that they didn't submit a bid, but we only have 2 vendors. Some of the prices are a little bit higher, a couple of them are close to where they were. We did increase the budget for 23-24 for special ed transportation based on what we were experiencing in the previous year, so hopefully,
Hopefully there aren't any
Hopefully there's
surprise
not-
swings next
Right.
this fiscal year, I should say.
I read in one of the committee minutes that 1 in 10 students are special ed. Are they all, do they all get their own special transport? Do you automatically qualify for special transport if you're special ed?
no.
No. So the special ed budget is significant compared to, if they're 10% of the student population, that's a big number. It's very nearly 50% of the whole rest of the body, student body.
So it's, most of that is the students that are outplaced,
Yep.
so to facilities outside of our district.
Yep.
There are some special ed transportation costs within districts that are included in that line, and it's more of like a wheelchair required, or if there's an aide that is required to be on the bus with a student,
Yep.
those costs are all included in there.
So if there is an aide on a special ed transportation bus, that line item shows up under the transportation
Yes.
line item, not in paraprofessional or?
No, because they're not our employees.
I see,
Oh, that's
I
right.
see.
They're employed by the
Okay.
bus company, so they're not our employees. We haven't had a para have to ride a bus in a very long time. That was only a short time thing a long time ago, but they're not our employees, so it's all part of the contracted service from the bus company.
But that number that Mr. Hartman brought up is also reflective of the decision that was made by the Board of Ed and the administration years ago to try and keep more students in district. I
Yes.
mean, it's 10% it might be a surprising number for some folks, but it's also, there's a savings to the extent that you can say that there's a savings, and that's unfortunately what we have to look at, and you do
Right.
too, but that's been the result of an initiative to try and retain more students in district to avoid the tuition and the
Yes.
services that we had mentioned before.
It also didn't hurt that medical was, there's a lot left in medical,
Yes.
based on everything we, knew going into this year and the changes in the medical plan.
There was also a transfer done from dining services to cover a portion of their medical. The dining services can only have 3 months of operating expenses in their fund balance. So they had an excess of funds, and so one of the things that we've used it for is to offset what the Board of Ed would normally pay for the medical, as well as accounting and bookkeeping services that we provide, because we do all of their payroll, HR, and all their bookkeeping work.
Is that state-driven, I didn't know if it was state or policy, Board of Ed policy?
No, it's a state-driven.
It's a state-driven. Okay.
So does that happen all the time, quite often, or was that kind of a one-off to allow you to make the balance?
It was, so back in 2015, 2016, when the dining services was making a profit on a regular basis, we had initiated this contribution to medical to insurance and bookkeeping services. We stopped it when they started losing money. We can't take money from them when they're not making any.
Yeah.
And so this was a year when they had the surplus.
It's atypical.
Yes.
Yeah.
And going into this coming year with what they're proposing for free breakfast and for students who qualify for reduced lunch, getting free lunch, we don't know what the coming year is going to bring with
Don't expect to see that again.
with this change of plans. Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah. Thank you.
So,
But that change is coming from Hartford or Washington, not
right. Right. that's-
central office.
Right, that's coming from the state.
Apologize for mumbling. speak up.
Anything else regarding the report? Otherwise, we can go to warrants. Same year, same fiscal year, 22-23. I had two items. One of them was answered in the minutes. It was the Jones site improvement on page 2. But that, I believe, was for a, now I'm trying to remember, I read it in the minutes. Water issue, Jones site improvement, 46,000. Page 2, right?
Yes.
2/3 down, right? That was a.
Yeah,
water-
that was the water issue.
Yeah.
We are hoping to get that back from we should be getting that back from the insurance company.
Okay. The other item, and maybe it's more of a refresher, but on page 4, near the bottom, the student activity account, and just because it's a large number, the 35, almost 36,000, it says June officials reimbursement to student activity account. Now, I can make the assumption, but I hate to do that officials means the, like, referees and things
Yes.
for sports, right? So how does that just simply is
So when-
money collected and reimbursed into the account? Or?
So when an official works, they
Right.
get paid right away, and the check is issued out of the student activity account.
Okay,
We budget a certain amount to cover officials. So at the end of the year, we transfer over our portion to reimburse the student activity account for what they have paid out for officials. It's always more than what we budget for them.
okay. And that's the exact amount that was paid for officials, for
Right.
athletic events, for the students, for all their
Yes.
athletic activities, okay.
Well, it was more than that was paid, but that's what the Board of Ed pays towards it.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on warrants? That was my only item. Megan?
So it looks like we are officially in the open choice program, right? From the minutes?
Yep.
Yes, but it won't be starting, it's not starting this year, it's starting next September.
Okay. Is there gonna be like planning that on the, I'm just thinking about the finance side. Like policy-wise, I agree with it, I think it's great. But from the financial impact, are we gonna plan with the Board of Ed for that?
The idea is to basically kind of backfill those spots where there's already capacity.
Okay.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't
As-
think there's
As far
a
as
huge
the
budget
finance
impact.
part, I have not had a big discussion on it yet, so I really don't know how to answer your question
Okay,
yet.
that's fine.
As we go into the budget, I'm sure there'll be more discussions on the costs and the revenue from that program.
Okay, that's fair.
You also have to know how many students are taking advantage of the program.
Right.
Well, because it'll go both ways. I'm assuming
Right.
it's gonna be Guilford students to different schools and then students coming to Guilford, right? So just all of the logistics that are involved in that seem like they would
Yes.
also have a price tag. Not in a bad way, I just wanted to.
Right. Well, the transportation is covered through, through one of the RESCs. I'm not sure which one it was.
Okay.
So we don't pay for the transportation of those students to come here, or if any of our students choose to go somewhere else. That is covered. The only time I think there would be any other associated costs would be if it's a special education student, but.
Okay. Okay. All right. No, I think it's good. I'm excited. I wanted to be proactive on the financial planning.
Again, it was brought to my attention that we need to speak up, I guess, for even, if they, okay.
I just asked about the Board of Ed, like officially voted to enter into the open choice or program, so I was just asking about what we're gonna have to do to prepare for the financial piece of that. But it's a work in progress, so it's all good. We'll get there.
By the way, it's not just you.
Yeah,
Breathe.
it's everybody. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, actually, that's a really good point. We should just basically be talking to Mary Jane and Matt out in the, if we're
Yes.
talking, if we're talking to all of them, we're
Yeah.
good, right? So that's our goal, is
Sorry.
to talk to the back of the room. Okay.
So that means we're not yelling at
Yeah.
you.
That's okay.
Usually I'm in the back row going,
What?
It's okay.
Nope.
I could project more, so it's.
Not just you.
All right, anything further on fiscal year 22-23? The report or the warrants? Okay. I will entertain a motion to accept the report of expenditures attributable to fiscal year 22-23 for the Board of Education in July of 2023 for the amount of $403,918.60.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? Thank you. We are on to fiscal year 23-24.
Before we start that, I will say the board and the administration obviously look at where we ended up or down at the end of the fiscal year. And we're keeping our eye on certain items that we need to be thinking about for this upcoming budget.
For the upcoming 20. Okay.
All right, so for the month of July, fiscal year 23-24, expenditures were $4,443,731.67. Expenditures and encumbrances through the end of July were 9.48% of the budget as compared to 8.18% in 22-23. Revenue for July 2023 was $339.87. Which includes $317.80 for non-resident tuition and $22.07 from the charging stations. Basically, salaries, supplies and materials, and transportation all approximate 22-23. Purchase services, tuition, and capital are all up. The warrant we are submitting is a total of all payments for the month. I'm sorry. The total payments were listed in the warrant are $2,102,474.94.
Okay. Questions on the report? I will start very briefly on purchase services. Dues and fees are always usually right up front, July 1st, or in July. That amount that's right now expended over, is that anything coming back from that? Or is that, how come it's over already as opposed to
Yes.
just at 100%? Do we get something back?
We'll get some of that back, and there might be one dues that is actually a professional development. I'm trying to get some clarification on it,
Okay,
so it might be moved to a different account.
Okay, so-
But there is some part of that will be reimbursed at the end of the year.
good, okay. I'm
From the
not
IB
surprised it's
program.
up. It's like the town, when it's social services, it's like 95% expended usually within the first month or two, so. Okay. That's really the only question I had on the report so far.
That opens it right up to safety, sanitation, and upkeep. There was
Yeah.
a bump there. The prior year was 74%, now it's 96%, which is something, was there an outlier there that makes this year a little different?
There were a couple things, let me get my notes so I don't say the wrong thing.
Safety sanitation.
Oh.
So the encumbrance number is obviously
Yeah.
huge, so there were a lot of
Yeah.
purchase orders that were
Right.
Yes.
signed off. Yeah, actually, my question to that, to go to Bob, what you were saying, is it 100 purchase orders, or is it
Right.
less? Is it 5? What composes that?
What's the
Yes.
bump?
Okay, there were a couple things that were a little bit higher than had been anticipated. Some of the flooring costs, some work at Lakes Playground, and some repairs to Lathrop House.
Right. So the nature of the question is it higher costs, unexpected costs, or is it just timing?
So
Sounds like
these,
it's the former.
yes, these all kind of came, well, I don't think Lathrop was fully anticipated. It was not budgeted. The other ones were over what was budgeted.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, the eye gets drawn to those triple-digit numbers when you get down to capital, equipment, instructional. I presume that's something, it's a timing thing for the year.
Yeah, that, excuse me, so a lot of the purchases were done already, that were planned under the capital lease, because it was replacement of laptops for students, so we had to buy them now to get them in for the start of school.
Right.
So once those bills come in and get paid, and we have the canceled check, we'll submit for reimbursement for the leasing company,
Right.
and that will go back within budget.
Right, so it's timing.
The truck reimbursement will take a little bit longer, because it's gonna take us a while to get the truck in.
And then site improvements, same issue. On the, like, equipment and instructional, we know that it's all paid out and then lease, and then it comes back.
Right.
On the site improvements, the 332 in encumbrances.
We're hoping some of those are not needed.
Right.
And that we can
Right.
cancel some of those.
Okay.
And bring that back in, but,
Okay.
um,
Well, we were at 127 last year, a budget, so the encumbrances went way up, so now we're at 119, so doing better than last year, but still is a high number.
it's one of the accounts that was discussed at the Board of Education meeting, that when we get into the budget, it's not an account that we can automatically go to when we need to do a budget cut. We need to fund that at the level where it should be.
Right. The annual question, right?
Yes.
How much you put into capital.
Yes.
Anything else?
A former member would say should be 10% of your total budget,
Mm-hmm.
should be our site improvement.
I do recall
line.
that.
Yes. We have not been at that level in a very long time.
Anything further on the report?
Just one question.
Yep.
Do we have an idea as to how the enrollment's looking for the upcoming year?
I wanted to ask.
Sorry.
No, I don't care who asks this.
So we have had a increase of enrollment for kindergarten at Guilford Lakes. We had to add a section there. So they actually are going to have 4 sections of kindergarten. One other school is getting close to that level where we would have to consider adding, but right now we're not. The rest of the enrollment seems to be
On target?
on target. But the kindergarten enrollment at that one school definitely is higher than anticipated.
Will that change with the new statute that now cuts off enrollment at September 1st? So if you're not, like, moving forward, this is the last year where it's January 1st, right? So next year, if you're not 5 by September 1st, you're not eligible statewide. This isn't just like a Guilford thing.
Well, I looked back at the demographic study that was done, and even that is still projecting kindergarten enrollment, and they didn't take that into account then.
Right.
But even then, they were looking at kindergarten enrollment staying high for the next couple of years.
Okay, so it'll just be like delayed.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. I was wondering if this was a bump from a COVID bump from people who are keeping kids back for a year and then putting them in you know, more kids coming in now that wouldn't have. It doesn't sound that way.
It could be, I don't really know. I just know, they just tell me the numbers.
I think the bump should have been last year.
Should have, could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just, I don't know. It sounds like it's just gonna stay steady. It doesn't matter the timing.
Right.
It's just gonna stay.
That's the way the
Steady.
demographic study
Yeah.
makes it look.
Yeah.
My guess would be if there was an impact next year because of the January, we'd make up for it the following year.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. So it's just really,
If you
it's
see a
just,
bump, you're gonna see that.
yeah.
Yeah. you're gonna
Yeah.
see a bump. And what was it, a year ago, 2 years ago?
Excuse
The
me.
enrollment study, the last one? I think it was,
No, it was done for the beginning
For
of,
this last budget. So
for
you're-
this last budget, so
you're-
yeah, it's only been
yeah.
a year.
Trend, yeah. Yeah, so it was done 22.
Right. And it is on our website if you want to go
Right.
back and look at it. It is out there, if anybody wants to look at it.
There's actually a chart that was distributed at our last Board of Ed meeting, so this is
Uh-huh.
probably online somewhere with the projected enrollment for 23-24.
I'm not sure if that one is, because that's not the official enrollment yet. I think that one was just done for the board.
Okay.
I actually don't even
I
have
think
that
the
one.
official enrollment isn't finalized until October
October
1st.
1st, right.
Right.
Right, but this is the one that shows that there is the added section in Guilford Lakes, and looks like Cox is the school that is also pushing. They're currently 55 kids in 3 classes. So it's classes of 19 and 18 and 18. So they're pushing where,
pretty close.
where we would like to have it, so they were watching that one as well. And I think I had mentioned before that we had to add a teacher that was unbudgeted as part of our discussions.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the report? Warrant? Minutes, operations? And the July 10th. Well, actually, operations and the regular meeting. Okay. If nothing further,
I just add,
Go ahead, Jeff.
the tennis court replacement project seems to be on pace, so that's, after
Yes.
a long wait in getting started.
Yes,
It's
it-
good to see it's moving along.
Yes, it sounds like it is on schedule.
And there will be pickleball lines.
there will be
Yeah.
pickleballs.
Yes.
Well, thank goodness for that, otherwise there'd be probably an uproar. So. And we're gonna have indoor.
Yeah.
Hey, don't have it. It's like a real.
It's a real, we know from our budget meetings.
Yes.
Well, even like the racket club has now a whole new league. I don't belong there.
Oh, sure.
I don't. I'm not a racket sport person.
Yeah.
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 It's just a matter of time.
Certain age, they play you in.
Anything else for fiscal year 23-24 for the Board of Education? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the report of expenditures attributable to fiscal year 23-24 for the Board of Education in July of 2023 for the amount of $4,443,731.67.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? Excellent.
Thank you both.
Arnold,
you.
Linda, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just to add to the great question that the representative asked, there is an opt-out provision in that legislation. And I think it's on a case-by-case basis, and as determined by the local school administrator. So I think individual parents have the right to petition to allow their child to go to school, even with a birth date after the early cutoff. So I don't know if that's something the board is looking at or is even contemplated at this point, how you're going to handle that. Because one of the biggest resistance came from parents who don't necessarily have access to another year of daycare.
Right. I know. Yeah.
Right.
It's a whole thing.
So,
My.
I don't know whether, again, this is not my bailiwick, but I was aware that there was an out, and I just, thank you to the Google machine, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know whether the Board of Education has contemplated how you're going to handle those appeals on a case-by-case basis.
So the parent can appeal.
That's my understanding.
Yes. From what, I'm sorry, do you want to?
I don't want to misrepresent whatever Dr. Freeman has said, but I think his intention is to make sure that every kid is able to go to school who moves to Guilford. So, basically we'll take your flag under advisement. So.
Thank you.
From the discussions that I have been included in, they have talked about it, they're aware of it, and they obviously said that they would address it, when the time comes. But as far as I know, nothing formal has been put in place as to what the policy or the procedure is going to be on how they would review this.
Okay.
So about that legal line, no.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Item number 5, review and approve report of expenditures for town government. We will start, as we did before, with Board of Education, fiscal year 2022-23. Mary Jane.
I just want to note Tony's on the Zoom, so I'm sure he's paying attention to whether or not we could be heard. So, knowing there was a problem, Tony is monitoring it so that we can make adjustments if we need to.
Thank you, Todd.
Tony?
Tony.
Tony and Todd.
Tony and Todd. Yeah.
Okay, so providing June 30 unaudited figures for you today. Just want to note that my staff is diligently working this coming week, closing out purchase orders and making sure that the numbers are as good as they can. We are doing the close on Saturday, officially closing this Saturday. So at your next meeting, it will be the week before our auditors come in. We'll have all the transfers and all that. Most of the items we've already spoken about, but I just want to get that right out there. So we'll start with 22-23 revenues. We are at 101.9% collected through the end of the year. These numbers are pretty solid. There are a couple little changes we've been making, but they're not going to change that much to make a substantial difference. It is showing a $2.1 million surplus. The largest items are interest income, tax collection, golf course, fire department, and youth and family services. Any questions? Any questions on revenue?
Any questions? I mean, these are all the numbers, we've been seeing
We've
these
been-
numbers.
Yeah, pretty much the same report I gave last month too.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
having a little trouble, Mary Jane, sorry, Board Pack
Yep.
wasn't downloading the
Oh.
spreadsheet for me, but I was looking at them at home, and it's about 2 million?
2.1
almost,
million,
plus?
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we're still somewhere around that ballpark, extra revenue.
Correct, on the revenue side, that's where we stand.
Okay.
Yep, like I said, made up of those departments specifically that almost every department exceeded their revenues, but some of them really made up the difference, the ones that I noted.
Okay.
Like finance,
Like finance, I just skipped right over that really quickly, but
got that in there.
And the selectman's office too.
yes, the select, yeah, I just did everything over 100,000, but yeah, the selectman's office, that's a lot of work done selling off surplus equipment. That's where the revenue comes in for that. So, doing a really good job at that.
They get the
Park
best
and
parking
Rec
spaces.
did very well too.
Park, right?
Considering that they lost their big tenant and.
Yep, so we've been adjusting their
Yeah.
budget to make up for that, so that makes sense that, we would meet their revenue projections this year.
Good.
So on the expenditure side, as I said, we still have more work to do on this, showing a small surplus of only $26,000. I do expect that to increase. I believe it's going to be somewhere around the $300,000 mark. We still have $612,000 worth of encumbrances in there. Some of these items will be closed out permanently, but some that we're still waiting. We've had a lot of equipment and purchases this year that are taking months and months and months to come in.
Supply.
So, yes.
Supply chain.
So what we'll do is we'll close out these purchase orders, and you'll see those as transfers to carried in force that will hold the money over to next year, or to what is now this year. Not too many surprises in the items that are over. We do have a number of grants that we're analyzing for the year that we need to bring in, specifically in Park and Rec and the Health Department. We have grants that aren't applied yet. Fire Department, we know, is over quite a bit, but I just reported the revenue, shows that. So for all the extra calls that they have, we need a replacement replacement salaries. So it really equates between the revenue and the expense. Same thing with golf, although on a smaller scale. They had additional revenue, which covers their overage as well. But like I said, next month you'll see a whole complete picture, and all the final transfers will be brought to your attention.
And those
I think-
I was going to say, and those transfers will come to us.
Yes,
Next
yes,
month.
yes. They go to
To
the
look
Board
at.
of Board of Selectmen
Right,
at their meeting
after
first,
they-
and then, none of them will be done until you
Right.
guys have the final
Just
approval.
want to make sure everyone
Yes,
recalls that.
absolutely.
We'll get a chance to look at all those.
Yes.
I was gonna comment that this year with the weather, especially all the rain and stuff, it's gonna impact the golf.
Well, people they're still golfing. I don't know, it hasn't stopped my husband from going to the golf course.
I hope that's true.
You just go early in the morning or later in the afternoon, but,
They won't be
you know.
paying for water.
Yes, it would be less water. Yeah, but the golf course has been very busy
Yeah.
throughout the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rain didn't really affect them too much. It's
Right.
usually the day of, but the course, I haven't had a chance, I almost played it last week, to be honest, but it was the day Friday we had the downpours, I think on Thursday night or something. And they closed the course, which they should, but the
Right.
course is supposedly in beautiful condition, is getting a lot of play.
Yes,
So
it is.
it's, kudos to them for doing what they're
And
doing.
that's, obviously why they're requiring extra maintenance, which is going over
Yeah.
their budget,
So
so
the weather
Yeah.
will impact it.
it
Yeah,
makes
will.
sense.
You're right.
Yeah.
But the revenue more than makes up for that
That's
cost.
what,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it correlates the same as in the fire department.
Yep.
Okay.
Just a couple of years ago, we attributed the rise in fees to COVID. A lot of people
Outdoor
were
activity.
working from home and playing golf at lunch, right? And then, because we saw that explosion during COVID, but now that we are theoretically in a post-COVID world, those revenues continue to be very, very strong.
Talk to any golf club or golf course or golfer, and it's not slowed down at all. So it's,
But I think it brought people who had never played the
Played.
course before
Right.
Mhm.
and
Right.
realized what a gem it is, they're continuing to play it.
yeah.
Agreed.
And not that COVID was good for anything, but
there was
private
one
golf
thing-
courses did, many
GPs.
private golf courses were really losing membership and going down, and now there's waiting lists. So it's, really
Yeah.
brought it back, and a lot of young people are out there playing as well.
And pickleball.
Well, yes.
Did I say that out loud? It's
Fastest
true,
growing
though. I
sport
mean,
in the
anything that was
It's
outdoor.
true.
Anything else in fiscal year 22?
Nope, I just want to note that you'll see on the summary sheet, you did approve a portion of June's expenditures last month.
Right.
So I'm looking for the difference of the 607,000.
Yeah, I saw that on the
I
report.
just wanna make sure.
Thank you, yeah, because I think last year I didn't catch that, so thank you. All right, is there anything else for fiscal year 22, 23? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to approve the report of expenditures attributable to fiscal year 22, 23 for the town in July 2023 for the amount of $607,539.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? Great. Fiscal year 23, 24.
So I don't have full reports for 23, 24. I do have a summary.
Can I, 1 second, could I stop you real
Yeah.
quick? I just realized that all the special fund warrants, the warrants, medical, monthly, all that was under fiscal year 22, 23. So I was
Back
thinking
up.
we were going on, so.
That's fine.
I mean, we technically approved it, but does anybody have anything on the warrants? I mean, these are the warrants for the 607,000.
Yes,
The medical monthly,
we'll go over the
probably,
medical.
do you want to go, we could go
We'll-
over that.
we'll do it.
Actually, no, that actually is reflective of fiscal year 23, 24, so it's okay. It's both.
Right.
All right. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything that anyone wanted to discuss.
I
Bob?
took your question to mean we covered it all.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. All right. So we will then go on to fiscal year 23, 24.
Yeah, so.
Warrants only.
Yep, warrants only,
Yeah.
for 4.8 thousand. I will say that the majority of that are items that we have to pay up front at the beginning of the year. A lot of our annual leases and subscriptions for all of our financial softwares and insurances and all of that. A lot of that gets paid immediately at the first of the year. So that's what that is mainly made up of. But you'll have a full report next month.
Right. Okay. Do we want to go over medical now before?
Well, why don't you, can you finish?
All right.
Finish this?
That's fine. We could do that. Whatever order pleases everybody is fine. I'll entertain a motion to approve the warrant reports attributable to fiscal year 23, 24 for the town in July of 2023 for the amount of $4,886,071.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, abstentions, recusals? Excellent. Now we can do
No,
medical.
do the medical.
Okay.
So you'll see, we made some changes to way we're presenting the medical budget. So this year, as you know, we have pulled the stop loss out of the regular Anthem billing. So I am showing stop loss as a separate item under the expenditures. You'll note that we spent 0 in July because we're always going to be 1 or 2 months behind. All of the claims still filter through Anthem. They have to collect them, report them out, send them to the stop loss company. They have to go through it, review it, and then they will bill us for that amount. So you're always going to see us behind on that. The admin, it's the administration fees and a number of rebates that we get. Again, the beginning of July, we get a lot of rebates. You'll see from last year even, it was lower in July than August. So it's showing we actually got money back because of the rebates that we get from prescriptions. Showed that. So we do already have catastrophic claims for July. We have 2 members covered over 75 and 1 that's already over 150.
Just in July?
Just in July.
Wow.
It really shows how quickly
Yeah.
that can happen.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what the claims are, who they are. I only get a
Yeah,
report
right.
to 2 people.
No.
So, but clearly something happened in July to already put somebody,
Yeah.
at 185,000.
There's no crystal ball to try and
Correct.
project for that.
Correct. Down on the revenue side, because I made another column up top, down below, we broke out the Board of Ed and the town, so you can see the 2 portions that both entities put in. We used to just show it as one. The other column is made up of retirees, COBRA, the employee co-pays, all of that money that comes in to offset the town side. So if you were to look at the budget you approved, you would have to add the town column and the other column to see the total contribution for the town side. So we are showing a surplus of 291,000. Clearly, that's we haven't paid any stop loss yet, so that number is really insignificant at this point. But it's new for us to have stop loss this way, so we're working through the process.
Yeah, no,
and
it's good to
getting it done.
see it allocated that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great, thank you for that description. Anything else on medical? Any questions further?
And that fund balance number, that you think that's fairly accurate?
That's fairly accurate. Yeah, it hasn't been audited, but we did get the updated IBNR did drop, so that brought our fund balance up. So.
Okay. All right, so we will then move on to item number 6. Discuss and take possible action on bond premium transfer for fiscal year 2023. I guess for the purposes of the public, it's a brief memo from Mary Jane to members of the Board of Selectmen and to our Board of Finance on August 21st, which is today, about the fiscal year 23 bond premium transfer. It reads, as of the end of fiscal year 23, there is a balance of $296,614 in premium credits from the sale of bonds during the year. Historically, we have used these premiums to mitigate mill rate increases by reducing the debt service in subsequent years. I would like to continue this practice. Therefore, I respectfully request that the balance of $296,614 be transferred from unassigned fund balance to fund balance committed to future debt payments as of June 30th of 23, which of course would be the end of the last fiscal year, for our consideration. So, Mary Jane, anything else?
So as you know, when we present our budget each year, we do provide a graph that shows our debt service going down. I use these premiums to smooth that curve out. year over year. So that, you know, the savings and the credits we receive from the sale of bonds goes directly back in to reduce the tax burden on the bonds that we pay in the subsequent years. It's probably one of the best things we're able to do.
You had good news on our last bond issuance?
Yes. Oh, I don't have the actual numbers with me, but
I do.
oh, you do. You have them with. I could probably find them if you. So we have very. Yeah, we.
We were
Went up.
under 3%.
Under-
2.78%.
Which is the first time our bond advisor and our bond counsel had seen that since January,
And
December.
on the day, we were 100 basis points, 1 full percent below the U.S. Treasury issued on that day. We're better credit than.
Well,
Yeah,
we
and
manage
well-
our money
and-
Far
better
better.
than Asia.
And well
You
below-
guys manage the money better.
Well
Free
below
money.
what we had anticipated too. We were anticipating closer to 3 or over 3 at the time, based on towns around us. That was for our $5 million new debt, and then we rolled over a ban of $2.6 million, and that came in very well too. Again, more credits came in. That's in this fiscal year. So the credits that we received in August, just this month, you'll see a year from now with whatever we have left. But those credits will be used to present the budget for 2025.
And our exceptional bond rating is reflected in the credits that we get as well.
I was
Yes.
going to say,
Absolutely.
that process
Triple A.
has to reflect positively on the market when they look at Guilford's practices.
Absolutely.
I would offer, if anybody just wants to sit in on our bond calls next year, you're welcome to do so. It's really a fun exercise. Tell them why we are who we are.
Matt speaks so eloquently about the town of Guilford that they have no choice but to give us such a good credit rating.
It's a team effort between Bill Lindsay, Mary Jane, and myself, but I'm just the mouthpiece.
Are you sure you didn't co-sign?
I can quote the numbers, but he does a
I
phenomenal
present
job.
them in a way that reflects everything that's good about our community. That's all.
And it gets easier and easier every year.
It does, you're right. Although, probably not for TV, but what was it, 3 years ago or 4 years ago? I was on vacation when we had to do it.
Yeah, we
So-
weren't
so-
even in the same state.
So I left the beach in Truro and went to the highest piece of ground I could find because cell coverage is awful. And I had all my notes and stuff. I sat in my car and did the bond call in my bathing suit.
TMI, Mr. First.
Now
I
I
had
know
a
the
shirt
real,
on too.
now we know
all
the
right,
real,
all right, you're
now
good.
we know the real reason why we got the lower rating.
No, it was not a video call.
So now that we've patted ourselves on the back,
Well done. No, well done. Well done.
I'm serious. If anybody just wants to be ears on that call, you're welcome to next year.
All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to transfer the $296,614 balance of premium credits due to the sale of bonds from unassigned fund balance to fund balance committed to future debt payments as of June 30th, 2022.
So moved.
23. June 30, 2023, not 22. Just in case anybody was really
23.
listening, you said 22.
I did, 22. June 30th, 2023.
Right.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Thank you.
Committee reports, item number 7, building permits. Item number 8, old business. Item number 9, new business. And item number 10, public forum. Okay?
Will we get feedback and of whether or not we could be heard?
Yeah, I was just going to ask the question, but they're gone.
Yeah, I saw Tony
They
logged
couldn't hear.
off, so he's probably, What?
The answer is no, they can't hear us. Can they hear them from there?
It's not even so much that, it's also choppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking, so it's not just that they're quiet, but it keeps cutting out.
Well, I'm glad they participated today, because we've been
Yeah.
barking
Yes.
up this tree for a while.
Yep.
Well, yes.
Thank you. We will address it.
Excellent. Thank you. With that,
Motion to adjourn?
beautiful.
Second.
Second? Do I, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No discussion.
No discussion. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.